friends, welcome back to the shop. Got a little project here that I've been wanting to do for a little bit, and that is a Kydex project. We take this Kydex, the sheet of Kydex, and we heat it up and shape it and form it into whatever it is that we want to use. I have already cut this and then scribed it again. All you have to do to scribe this Kydex is to use a knife, and then you just flex it and it snaps right where you scribed it. This is the piece we're going to use, and I'll bring you down here on the bench and show you what I am intending. Alright, I am wanting to take and make a sheath for this knife. I got this knife, probably almost a month ago now, and I really like it, and I don't care for the vinyl or nylon sheath that it came with. It's functional but not very nice, and I want to be able to use this differently. This one here I have already made, and I will show you in another video what I intend for this. But for right now, I want to take this knife and make a sheath for it that I can use to put into my back pocket or into a cargo pants pocket. And so what I'm intending to do is to take the little toaster oven here, and we'll heat this up. You can heat this up to about 200 degrees for about 1.5 to 2 minutes, and it gets all floppy. It's not stiff like it is right now, and it'll get nice and malleable. And then you can take and press this in between some cushion. We're going to use this foam stuff that I have picked up somewhere, and you can use anything that is a very stiff foam. You can see how when it's hot, it will get it will kind of disform this, but you can use this over and over and over again. I'm sure there's some professional stuff that you can get. When I first started doing this, I actually got a rubber, not a foam rubber, not a styrofoam, but it was a blue harder. It was a foam rubber like this, but it was a boogie board from Walmart, and I cut it into pieces and used it when I first started. This is just some other stuff I found. Anything that you can find that's very that's spongy but relatively firm will work. So let me show you how we're going to set this up and exactly what I'm intending here. All right, what I'm doing is, when I make this sheath, I want it not to squeeze the blade. Where I want it to squeeze is this part right here, where the hilt would be considered the hilt, and that's where I want the pressure points when you put this in. See, it's loose all the way in there until it gets right there, and then you press it and it snaps in there. So I want the pressure to be up here, but where I want the pressure is right here, distinctly on this part right here, about 3/4 of an inch of the area. So I'm going to put a spacer on this part here, a cardboard spacer, so that when I press around it, it will stay wide, and I want this blade to have a little bit of slack. So that's why I'm taking and marking this on here, and we can cut it off, and I'll just tape it directly to the blade so that when it's in the form, it will give me some space. Now I want to leave some space. You'll be able to see this properly. I want to leave a little bit of space, especially for the edge of that blade. And so I'm going to bring and cut a little bit of an easement so that when that blade goes in and out, it is not coming in contact very directly, or at least not very hard. I don't know if you can kind of see, there's a little bit of a transition right there, and that's because that's where the blade is, and this is the easement. And so when that's in there, see, there is space all over inside there. When you snap it in, There's still a little bit of space, but it's grabbing right here. I made this one differently than what I'm going to make this one. This one here, what I did is I put a couple of quarters in here and taped them in place. So when I pressed that in, it made a gap. And then I put a little rubber washer with a Chicago screw in it. And I can actually turn that tighter or loosen it, and that will adjust the grip right here. This is just a Ranger band that I put on there to kind of help hold it all together too. It's not that it's necessary. It worked just fine without it. I just was playing around with it, and it doesn't inhibit or hinder anything, so I just leave it on there. So we're going to take and tape this blade right, or this right here. I need to take and cut a little bit of an angle here because I want that to go. See there? In fact, I'll show you here. See, that should give me some easement for that blade all the way to the tip. We'll tape that into place, and then I want to put a couple spacers on back here, and then we'll get to forming the Kydex. All right, we've got this set for about 220, and I'm going to turn it on. It's for light toast, and that's about a minute 20 seconds. We've got our knife all taped off here, and we've got the easement for the blade. I want it to be a little bit large here over this part of the handle. I just want it to press really tight in this area right here. Now when we go to push this down in, I take the foam and put it into my vise, and when we push down on this, I want to be able to push down on this blade, and I can't really do it very well with enough leverage here and just this part of the handle, which will be sticking out. So I'm going to take this plastic handle and put it right there on that blade. I don't want to damage the blade, but I want to push it in because I want this to form around the spine here of the blade. You don't have to do it that way. Some of the blades I've done don't, and it just kind of crimps back here and you can still see the shape of the blade. I just want to maximize that as best I can. So we're going to try to push that down in there, and I'm just going to keep the tip about 3/8 of an inch from the end, and that should cover me nicely here. So let me set that up. I don't know if you're understanding, I don't know if I'm explaining this very well, but we're going to give this a try, and I will demonstrate it for you here. So let's let this heat up, and we'll put this piece in there. There it is. Now, that plastic is hot, and you'll see here that it's very malleable once it's warmed. So we'll take the knife, I'll set it right in here the way I want it, and then I put it here between these pieces. I want to keep it as straight as I can. I want to push down nice and hard so that it takes the shape that I want it to, and then tighten it up. And what I'm going to want is for that to curve just a little bit because I want it to fit my leg. Which we can always heat up with a heat gun and kind of curve that the way we want to. This plastic, once it's firm, see right now it's still soft, so I don't want to take it out of there. It's taking the shape of that blade very nicely now. It's all in the jaws. It's only the handle sticking out over here. Maybe let me bring you over here and show you. So you can see the handle is sticking out of the vise. All of the blade, all of the plastic that's in there is in that vise. You can still see that this is still a little bit malleable. This out here has cooled quicker. It's getting stiff, but down in there, it's still warm. And so I need to keep it in there until it takes the shape really nicely. All right, that's been cooling for a little while. Wanted to show you here. I have done this before on different things, especially these larger tools. This is a larger Victorinox, and I don't like it flopping down sideways in my pocket, it's too big. And so I make this little snap-in sheath that will keep it upright in my pocket. And I can still put a small wallet or some bills in there or some credit cards, and it won't really get in the way or be a problem. And so it's not like it's taking up the whole pocket. You can still use it for something, but this way it's not always falling down in your pocket. And it's very easy to pop out. I can take and use it. And then what's neat is this is big enough that I can stick that back down in my pocket, and it pretty much finds its place and goes right in there. So this is the one that I have been using. This one here is a little bit larger. It's a lot wider here, and so I might put a couple of grommets in there, but just letting you know how I've been using this. So let's take this out and see what we got. All right. Here's our foam. Now you can see, kind of see where that blade is right there. It's cool enough that it should stay where it's supposed to. It's got the cardboard easement right here, so it looks like it's going to be nice and tight right there where I want it to be. And we can just pop this open and we can grind this. I can sand this into whatever shape that I want to. And then, like I said, I can make a curve here in this so it fits against my body better. But let's go ahead and pop this open. It grabs a little bit. Just pop that open and see if we can't get our knife out without cutting ourselves. There we go. So there is the sheath. So we're done with those. Got our sheath. We want that to cool nicely. We've got our knife here with all of our stuff on it. Let's get that all off of there. There's our blade. Let's get this off of there. There we go. Nice. Now that should snap right in there, and it does. I think we'll grind this to the shape we want, and I'll probably put a grommet right in here. That grabs quite a bit. I might put the grommet down a little bit so that will let loose, because as you pull this out, I don't know if you can notice, see how that flexes? And so that gives some give, and that's what's holding it all into place. And so we want it to give like that. So if I put something up here too high, it won't let it give, but down here it'll let it spring. So I think that is going to work nicely. Let's go ahead and go shape this and get it all set up. Just take this out. I am going to put a little thumb push right here, and I usually just warm that up with a lighter and press that out. And that way, when the knife is in place, I can just grab it with these 3 fingers and push with my thumb, and it'll pop right out of place just like this one. The reason I'm going to have to put the screw down lower is I did not make this easement with the little rubber piece in there. This is just simplifying it a little bit, but you can see the profile I have here. I'll probably copy that profile here and bring this down just a little bit, and then I'll see what I want to do here. I don't even know what I want to do yet. I just want this to be able to be relatively straight so it stays up in my back pocket or a cargo pocket, and that's what this is intended for. All right, this creates a lot of static cling because it's plastic, and creates a static charge. And so you got to clean this off real well, especially if it gets dust and junk down inside of here. And so I will blow this out with a blower. But right now we're going to take our deburring tool, and you can see where all this plastic here will curl up. That will be taken off with our little deburring tool here. We'll take that all the way around the edges. So you got a big old chunk right there. Most of it will pop off when it cools, but I still want to ease all that because we don't want any sharp edges. Now you can do this with almost any kind of tool. You could do this with a chisel. You can make a little sheath for the tip of the chisel. Most people use leather. but it can be done with one of these. In fact, I think in one project, if I remember right, I did this process and then put leather around it because I didn't want the sharp chisel cutting into that leather. So let's get this all taken care of here. There, now none of that is sharp. It's all nice and smooth. Now this doesn't look shaped much because, as you guys know, you can always take more off, but you can never put it back on. So I have not gotten too fancy with this. I want to show the proof of concept to you and show you how it's done and how I do it. I'm sure there's some others out there that are more professional than I that will do it better, but this right now is what I'm going to use, and if I want to shape this some more, I can always take it on the sander and sand that some more. For right now, I think we're going to press this and put the heat gun to this and give it a little bit more of a curve so it'll fit my leg better. All right, you can see here how I've got just the flap sticking up. I've got all of the sheath down inside of there. I don't want any of that to disform. That is one thing about Kydex that you got to kind of be careful of, is if you can't just throw it in your car or leave it in your car, it will start to misshape or come out of the shape and go straight again. So as long as you can have it in the desert and stuff, and it's not going to do that, but you can't leave it in your car. So I'm just going to warm this up lightly. I don't want to melt my foam rubber here. And again, this is not your typical foam rubber. It's pretty hard stuff. But excuse the noise. I'm going to go ahead and do this in live time just to show you it doesn't take very long. Now that will take the shape I want it. If I just probably leave it right there, it'll cool pretty quickly. I just don't want it to move from right there. All right, here's our little modified awl. If you remember this on another video, it's a reamer, but I turned it into an awl, and we're going to use that to punch our little, to make our little hole right there. And this is a nice size. I like that. The Craftsman one I have these little short stubby handles. That's nice. I like it. There we go. Got a little hole right there. We can go drill our hole to the size of that grommet. All right, we've got our little grommet here. We drilled our hole, and that fits nice and tight. So now we're going to take and put our little anvil down here. Put that right on top of there. Oh, wait a minute, need a hammer. Get our little stubby ball peen hammer here. Put that right down here. This is our punch to flare that grommet. Guys, hang on to yourselves. We're going to bounce a little. All right, is that tight? Not as tight as I'd like. Let's see about this. There we go. Nice. All right, so that should give enough spring that it'll allow, see, it'll open and snap right in there. That is not coming out. And now I need to make my little thumb flare right there. Let's do that here. Push that out. What I usually do is just take a lighter and just kind of warm that up a little bit. You don't want to get it too hot. And flare it out. Just push that out. There we go. That's all that's needed. Now that gives my thumb some purchase. It won't cut my thumb. Put that in there like that. I love it. How simple. How simple and yet how useful. Nice and secure. Not going to cut anybody, not going to hurt anybody. And now you can slip that right down into your back pocket or into your cargo pants pocket. All right, here we go. Like I said, I can shape this any way I want to. If I want to change this and make it smaller, I'm just not in a hurry to do that right now because I don't want to overdo it and then wish I had left it bigger. So I'm going to use it for a while. But as you can see, it'll fit right there in the back pocket. Clears just the top of the pocket so you can pull it out, push it back in there without any problem. I wouldn't want to sit driving or anything, but you could ride a motorcycle with this, I think. But it's right there, and then for the cargo pocket, it will slip right down into a cargo pocket, and you can have access to it. You pull that out, pull it out of the sheath, use it for whatever you need, snap that back in, and it'll go nicely down in there. I like this idea for hiking. The other way of hiking I like is for the vertical carry, which I'm going to take and make this one into a vertical carry right there. But we'll maybe do that on another video. For right now, this is great. And in fact, I'm gonna put it there in the cargo pocket, and I need to go mow the yard. So it'll sit right there. As you can see, when it's sitting down, it's not gonna move around a lot. It's right there, secure and in place. I love it. That is wonderful. All right, well, I know this is not typically the kind of project we do, but I was very happy with the way this turned out. As I told you, I'd made this one before, and I think I'm gonna make this into a vertical carry. And the reason I'm doing all of this stuff is because it's springtime and our family likes to go hiking. So for us, it's hiking season, and I like to carry a little something like this with me. It's, to me, the perfect size. And so I'm going to fix this up. I have this now that I can carry around the yard or hiking if I want to, but more than likely I'll use this one. So that's how I do Kydex. It doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to be something that is super, I don't want to say not professional, but it doesn't have to be real complicated. There are all kinds of vacuum board machines that you can get, and they make these for firearms and knives and all kinds of things. And so you can do these in a lot of different ways, but this is just a very simple way that I can take and keep it secure and keep it handy and have it ready to go whenever I need to. So guys, thanks so much for joining me on this. If you enjoyed this, please give us a thumbs up. Comment in the comments, leave a comment if you're of a mind to. And if you know anybody else that enjoys this kind of content, please send them the link. And if you're not a subscriber, hit that subscribe button and the bell notification. Next time we have a video of an off project like this, or maybe one of these tools, you'll be notified, be able to come by and visit again. I always enjoy your visits, and here's to each and every one of you. Have a great day. God bless.